Thank you, Excellency, for granting us this interview. And straight to the point, you've already had a lot. You had a meeting with Kenya's Foreign Affairs Minister, and you signed a certain agreement. And in that agreement, you said it's a 5-point agreement. Could you kindly expand on that?
Sure. We look at Kenya as a strategic partner of ours. We respect the economic achievement of the country, and we do respect the efforts Kenya has made when it comes to fight against terror. We have put together a package of 5 points to enhance the cooperation. Point number 1 would be to put the political consultations on a continuous path. We have signed agreement about that. Number 2, to sign the agreement on economic and technical cooperation until the end of the year. We have signed an MOU, a letter of intent, about that, and our services will do everything in order to conclude negotiations until the end of this year. Number 3, we have offered 50 scholarships to Kenyan students from September onwards. There are already almost 200 students applying for these possibilities, which is great news. So on an annual basis, we are ready to receive 50 students from Kenya in Hungary. Number 4, we really do hope that as the foreign minister is going to put into consideration the extension of the diplomatic network of Kenya, Budapest will be strongly on her mind in order to open an embassy there, because my experience is in the last 1.5 years since I've taken this, for the period of time I've taken this position, that that without personal presence it's very, very difficult to build a strategic cooperation. Number 5, we have assigned those fields of economy where the presence of the Hungarian companies of the Kenyan market can be useful from your perspective and can be advantageous from our perspective as well. We are very much interested in taking part in the process of upgrading your mass public transport system. Our companies are ready to provide you with the best solutions how to increase the efficiency of your agriculture. Our worldwide recognized companies are ready to assist you with water management solutions, and our companies on the field of ICT are ready to work with your companies as well. So these are the 4 major areas where I think we can be successful in the future if we put this into consideration seriously from both sides.
The 50 scholarships, is it new? Is it or a continuation of the existing ones?
Well, actually, this will be the first time as scholars from Kenya will arrive to Hungary. This is a program of ours in which we grant scholarships for different countries in the world. Altogether, we grant 375 scholarships for sub-Saharan African countries. So this is brand new, and the first group of students will arrive in September.
What is the areas of studies that are key here, and what's the significance of scholarships to the relationship between Kenya and Hungary?
Well, actually, we understand that those students who graduate in Hungarian universities or have a certain time to study in Hungary will be representatives of our country when they return, honorary ambassadors, who will create a bridge between the two nations and who will strongly promote the bilateral cooperation between Kenya and Hungary. The fields mainly are engineering, IT, pharma, and agriculture.
Mm-hmm. And one of the threats to global economy at the moment is climate change. Were there any tangible agreements on how to cooperate in these areas, especially regarding adaptation to the impact of climate change? There are areas like green energy, which are areas of cooperation between many countries in the world.
Well, you know, climate change is going to be one of the major challenges in the future for sure. And we need here a global responsibility to be taken, because the biggest countries of the world should be ready to decrease their emission in order to stop or to slow down this development, because we understand that partly climate change is one of the reasons why your agriculture needs some upgrading regarding productivity in the future. Hungary is keen on safe and clean energy. We put a lot of emphasis on nuclear. Currently 43% of our electricity demand is being supplied by nuclear, and now we are in the middle of a process of preparation of building new reactor blocks. in cooperation with Russia, and we would like to end up in a situation when 60–70% of our electricity needs will be covered by nuclear. We understand that you put a lot of emphasis on green energy as well, and we respect that a lot.
Okay. Was Hungary one of the countries at COP21 who are keen to support Africa and inject funds in Africa towards adaptation to climate change?
Definitely, you know, we are strong promoters within the European Union as well to give development funds to Africa, because we understand that one of the major reasons for European Union struggling now with the most significant challenge ever, migration, is that in certain countries there are very serious challenges regarding economy, poverty. So we think that we should give, of course, with conditionality, we should give more funding to Africa.
Okay, and of course, Your Excellency, you met the governor of Nairobi County, Dr. Evans Kidero, and one of the areas of cooperation is helping decongest the city of Nairobi, introduce mass rapid transport system. Did Hungary go through some of the challenges Nairobi city is facing now? How did it overcome, and what are some of the specific lessons that can be learned?
Well, of course, a well-organized mass public transport system can change the life of a city. You know, you don't have to sit in traffic jams. You don't have to drive, but you travel comfortably, quickly. You get to places much quicker than you supposed to before. So I think that a well-organized mass public transport system here would upgrade the life of the city pretty much. I understand there are more than 1 million people attending every day, coming to work here and then returning to their homes. Well, this is real tough. So if you have a mass transport system, it would be much easier. So that's why a Hungarian company is ready to manufacture trams for Nairobi in a way of cooperation with the local companies, establishing manufacturing facilities here, employing local people, bringing transfer of technology. So I think that would be very beneficial from your perspective.
So the approach is to make the locals feel that it's inbuilt and they are benefiting through the jobs and manufacturing locally.
You know, we have an approach how to cooperate with other countries. We put the nature of mutual beneficially, the nature of transactions being mutually beneficial in the focus. So we just don't want to come here, sell something and leave. What we want to do here is to build strategic partnership, and the easiest way to get there is through job creation and investments.
Okay. As I asked earlier, I don't know if Hungary went through the major cities through what Nairobi is experiencing.
Well, actually, our biggest city, the capital, has a population of 1.8 million, so it's not comparable to yours. But of course, smaller cities have same kind of problems regarding public utilities and public transport. But with modernization in the right time, you can overcome this challenge.
Okay. So, in a nutshell, what does Hungary import from Kenya? What does Hungary get from Kenya? And what does Kenya get from Hungary in terms of imports and exports?
Well, actually, your flowers and vegetables and coffee and tea, of course, reach European markets. So that's how they can reach Hungarian market as well. From our perspective, mainly technology transfer and products of machinery would arrive to the Kenyan market.
Mm-hmm. So how are the flowers from Kenya?
Well, actually, they might be from Kenya as well, since you have a huge export to the European market, and whenever we import flowers from Europe, then pretty sure that there's Kenyan flowers in between, among them.
And then you have a new strategy, you know, opening up to the south. What does that exactly mean?
Well, actually, you know, Hungary has a very open economy, so export over GDP ratio is about 100%. There's a huge 85 billion euro FDI stock in the country, so we rely a lot on external economic relations. And our main focus is, of course, on Europe, European Union and US transatlantic relationship. But we understood that we will not be successful in the future if we cannot build strategic partnership with the most rapidly emerging regions of the world, and Africa is the most rapidly booming continent, not a question. So under the framework of Southern Opening, we are opening to the south. We try to rebuild our connection to Africa. You know, during budgetary cuts 10, 20 years ago, that time governments closed so many embassies here. Now we reopen 4 of them in Luanda, in Accra, in Abuja, and Addis Ababa. So we extend our presence, our network here, and we try to work much more with African countries. With Kenya, we work not only in the field of economic cooperation, but on the field of counterterrorism. Hungarian troops are serving in Somalia under the umbrella of EU's advisory mission.
Indeed, Your Excellency, you know, observers say Africa is now experiencing a new scramble. There is a new scramble for Africa. But there are those who would say, maybe you are late. China is ahead of the pack. It's already done a lot. And do you see China as a threat to your vision of working with Africa?
No, we don't see China as a threat at all. It's competition. It's not a question. I mean, China is a very successful country. China has carried out a very successful economic policy. China is very successful in the external markets. It's a competition. Of course, we cannot compete with China in all fields because of the difference in sizes, you know. But we have to look for specific niches or specific markets where Hungarian products, Hungarian added value, Hungarian technology can put us in a more favorable situation than China. Of course, generally and globally, we will never beat China in economic issues, but in some areas of market where the Hungarian specific knowledge is that valuable, we can be stronger.
Well, what's the value of regional blocs and, for example, the European Union, the significance to, you know, opening up trade with Kenya and Africa in general?
You know, we push European Union very hard to sign the agreement on economic cooperation between the East African community and the European Union, because our understanding is that during crisis times, as we have been experiencing in Europe, being open to strategic partnerships is very important. Unfortunately, European Union has been very introverted now, just, you know, deeply stuck into the own problems and closing. Our position is that we should open up. We should look for partners, friends, and this agreement between EAC and the EU would be very advantageous for both parties. You know, we could take out our profit as well, since Hungary is pretty much interested in free trade.
Okay, and finally, Your Excellency, there is the immigration crisis in Europe, and Hungary is one of the countries that are hosting thousands of immigrants. In your view, is that motivated by economic reasons, or are those immigrants fleeing for their lives?
Well, you know, it's a tough issue. In Hungary, there are no illegal migrants currently because they marched through our country, 400,000 of them last year. But then we sealed off our green border and made it very clear that anyone can enter territory of Hungary, but only by respecting our laws. According to our understanding, it's a migration crisis. Most of the migrants are coming because of economic reasons. As they reach Hungary, you know, it's very hard to consider them as refugees, because as they leave, like Turkey, on the European continent, on the Western Balkans, they cross at least 4 safe countries to reach Hungary. The question is how you can consider someone as a refugee who crossed 4 safe countries already. So when people from Syria, for example, flee for their lives to Turkey, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, they are refugees without a doubt. But as they leave those countries and, you know, start to march through safe countries, you cannot consider them refugees anymore, because there's no reason to leave, for example, Greece for Macedonia in safety perspective. So Greece, Macedonia, Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, Hungary, Austria are all safe countries. And the migrants are crossing these countries because they want to get to Germany. You know, a right to safe life is a fundamental human right. But there's no fundamental human right which would say that you can choose the country freely where you want to live in, and in order to get there you can cross borders wherever, whenever, and however you want.
So how can the world handle this to find a permanent solution?
Well, I think we have to tackle the root causes. So we have to create peace in Middle East, in the African continent, in North Africa, especially, and we have to fund those countries who are left now by the people because of economic reasons. We have to fund them in order to carry out development projects, which then would end up in these people staying in their countries.
On that note, we come to the end of the show, but a quick reminder, 50 Kenyan students to benefit from scholarships by the government of Hungary every year. Kenya and Hungary to collaborate in decongesting Nairobi and technology transfer to be stepped up. Those are some of the highlights of the new pact between the two countries.